A naturally occurring vortex of wind and currents that rotate in a clockwise direction in the northern hemisphere and a counterclockwise direction in the southern hemisphere. These create a whirlpool effect whose vortex moves more slowly at the center, and that is where marine plastic debris collects. Plastic from California travels to Mexico and then catches the northern equator to the patch. These plastics have started to contaminate the environment. Marine life either ingest the plastic or become entangled by it, having a direct effect on the ecosystem. These plastics break down into small pieces after becoming frail. Eventually they degrade completely, but the timeline on how long it actually takes is unknown. Things that help degrade plastic are sunlight and ocean water. Most of these plastics are fishing nets, ropes, plastic bags such as chip and grocery happen to be present. Most of these plastics are intended to be disposable, but that always isn't the case. There are two different types of plastics, micro and macro. Microplastics are manufactured to have a microscopic size, and these plastics are always the most ingested. Secondary has an estimated longevity in the environment for over 1,000 years. Macro have a size bigger than 25 millimeters and are found on shorelines of fresh water and seawater.
Plastic debris that comes from a land-based source is 80% of the plastic debris in the ocean. Areas that contribute the most are areas that are densely populated and industrialized areas because of littering, plastic usage, and waste disposal. China, Indonesia, the Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam contribute to 60% of plastic pollution in oceans. A lot of plastic debris that comes from raw manufacturing materials were transported onto beaches after inadvertent spillage during handling. Plastics get transported by way of river systems and sewage to the sea. 20% of marine plastic is ocean-based, and commercial fishing is the biggest reason. As a result, ghost fishing occurs, which causes aquatic organisms to get tangled up in the fishing gear. It's been found that there's a correlation between the amount of plastic debris found on beaches and the amount of commercial fishing.
Ocean gyres tend to have a direct impact with the organisms that encounter them both physically and chemically. The ocean gyres collect trash, which organisms often encounter in the sea. Since plastics take a long time to degrade, they persist in the environment for a long duration and therefore have a higher risk at coming in contact with the sea creatures. When organisms encounter the waste, it can prove to be hazardous as they are physically at risk of becoming entangled in or ingesting the plastic. The plastics can cause suffocation, causing an immediate death or immobility, making them unable to navigate and find food. They are also at risk of drowning and laceration. Entangled organisms become easier prey given that the entanglement has reduced their physical activity. When an organism ingests these plastics, it can block the intestinal tract, cause digestive complications, or even failure to reproduce. Microplastics tend to have the most effect on sea life and organisms. They are the easiest to digest and most abundant plastics in the ocean. Microplastics have shown up in various species around the world. The most common species that have plastics include turtles, fish, and seabirds.
Plastic pollution of the ocean is a floating garbage. The pollution is in the form of particles. The small pollution particles are eaten by fish and traveling up the food chain and causing serious consequences for the health of wildlife and humans. These tiny particles are like the size of commercial fish food, and they are consumed both intentionally by the ocean's smallest occupants. Studies on fish were analyzed for organic pollution like polyaromatic hydrocarbons, PCBs, polyaromatic hydrocarbons, and flame retardant, which are found in plastic debris. The chemical do transfer from the plastic to the fish. The glycogen is stored in the liver for energy when we are under stress. The fish have less glycogen and they excess fat cells in their livers, a sign of fatty liver disease. These fish ate plastic had the high levels of fat in their liver. When fish eat plastic in the ocean, other marine animals, mammals, and birds eat fish, so do humans.
In summary, plastic debris is commonly found in water bodies and beach sediment and comes from both land-based and ocean-based sources, with domestic, industrial, and fishing activities being the most important contributors to environmental degradation.